WPTV.
Welcome back to the desk. The basketball crew is back to discuss the NBA as the season begins to unfold. Now, guys, the most dominant team in the league has been the Cleveland Cavaliers. What has changed for them so far this year, Dante?
Well, it's funny because the last time we were on the desk, we were talking about how the Cavs might be vulnerable, and they were doing terrible. If you take a look at the graphic that we have for you, the last time we were on, they were 5-7. They weren't able to score. They were allowing too much on defense. Since then, they've been 10-0. Their offense has gotten a little bit better. They're up by 3 points per game. Their defense is really what's coming up. I want to take your attention to that last stat, though. 3 points attempted. This is a team that's more comfortable shooting the three now than they were 2 weeks ago. That being said, I still think they're a vulnerable team. The teams that they played in their winning streak, Dallas, the Clippers, Brooklyn, Atlanta, these aren't teams that they're going to see in late May, early June. And their next 10 games, they don't play anyone interesting until Washington on December 17th. They haven't really been tested yet, and that's what I'm afraid of. I still think they are vulnerable as a team as a whole.
I mean, I don't really see them as vulnerable. They're starting to put it together, but the only thing for me is when Isaiah Thomas comes back, that's when they'll actually be vulnerable.
We're talking about Isaiah
right
Thomas? Isaiah Thomas?
Yeah, Isaiah Thomas.
Their worst stat right now is their defense. What is Isaiah Thomas going to provide?
He's going to drop
defense?
25
he's
to 30 runs back.
But he's the worst defender in the league.
It doesn't matter about no. Obviously, the height is going to be a factor.
Offensively, the Cavs have been great so far. His defense is.
Yeah, but you see what Kyrie Irving has done for the Cavs. Now he's doing it on the Celtics. Isaiah Thomas, to me, he is a shorter version of Kyrie Irving.
The team's defense is going to drop once he gets on, and that's what's like the worst aspect of the team.
Yeah,
right
but
now.
you still got Dwayne Wade on the perimeter. You got J.R. Smith on the perimeter. There's guys that can help on defense. There are guys that can help on defense. Trust me.
I don't know if I can trust that, honestly.
The thing you got to trust is LeBron James. That's the whole thing. It's Cleveland. They flipped the switch because they have LeBron James.
Again, what did LeBron James do against a good team last year? He faltered. He could win against the Nets. He could win against Dallas. I'll give him those wins. Sure, LeBron, congratulations. You did great. You're on a 10-game winning streak against lottery teams. Once he goes against teams like the Rockets, the Celtics, the Warriors, I don't think we're going to see this 10-game win streak anymore.
And there's something I want to bring up with that, too, especially with the teams that they've played. They're 21st in the league in allowing second chance points. Boston's 3rd in the league. That's a team that they're going to have to compete with. And, they're top half in the league in turnovers a game. They're bottom half in the league in points off turnovers. This team, when it comes to the intangibles, they're really struggling. I think you have to look towards that, and you have to look beyond, the eye test with them to see what they're really doing.
Now, the Cavs are a team that could be involved in these trade rumors that are starting to fly around with stars like DeAndre Jordan, DeMarcus Cousins, and Anthony Davis. Now, what teams need to make deals to keep their push to the playoffs a little more complete?
I definitely think the Cleveland Cavaliers can make that trade. That many people are talking about DeMarcus Cousins. Many people are talking about DeAndre Jordan. I think one of those guys you have to take on. And now another guy that I think can be on the trade block is right here. You can see him setting the screen, Marc Gasol, making in the layup. He's definitely one big piece that the Grizzlies, they say they're not trying to move on from him, but obviously they have a lot of, they're struggling a lot lately, and they got rid of their head coach. So I definitely see guys just like that. It's all big men so far that have been on the trade block.
It's evident to me Cleveland has to move that pick. As the season goes on, that pick loses more and more and more value.
The Nets draft pick.
The Nets draft pick. You look at where the Nets are going to finish. Now that pick is not top 3. That pick is 6th, maybe 7th, with the teams in the East who are completely bottoming out, Atlanta, Chicago. The teams in the West who they're better than, Sacramento, beyond dysfunctional. But the team that completely needs to blow it up, the LA Clippers. It's been way too long. They've gone on for way too dysfunction. It's too much. Blake is out for at least another month or two. You have DeAndre. What's the point of having him? Patrick Beverley's out for the season. It's time to move on, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with the prospect of Marc Gasol. I think a lot of people think just because they fired David Fizdale, it was one or the other. If this team is starting to rebuild like they really should, they were in the conference finals 4 years ago, but the West has gotten a lot better since then, and they have stayed stagnant. Gasol could go for a high price when it comes to draft picks. That team could really rebuild if they dish out Marc Gasol.
Yeah, they already started to blow up the team a little bit. They let go of Zach Randolph. They let go of guys like Vince Carter, veteran guys that have been there for a decent amount of time. So I think just getting rid of Marc Gasol, getting rid of Mike Conley, both having big contracts. And Marc Gasol, he's going to be a free agent in a couple of years, so he's going to want big money too. So just to clear up cap space and just start fresh, I think they need to do that.
Now, if the season ended today, the Philadelphia 76ers would be in the playoffs. You got that right. After years of trusting the process, is this team for real or are they still underachieving? Philip, we'll start with you.
I like the Sixers team a lot. And surprising, because I don't like a lot of things in the NBA. But this Sixers team, I like a lot.
But can you trust the process?
What kind of a question? Of course I trust the process.
But what about when the injuries hit?
Are the injuries hitting right now? They're a playoff team.
But what about when they do? But what about when they do?
They are a playoff team.
What about when
right
Embiid
now.
goes down?
As we speak,
That's a what if.
No,
as
that's
we
a
speak, Ben
when.
Simmons
That's
is
not a
out.
what if. That's a when.
I hear a lot of hypotheticals right now.
Yeah, I don't live off hypotheticals. As of now, even with Fultz out, the number one pick in the draft, even with him not playing, the Sixers are a playoff team.
I'll
I
give them
agree
their
with-
due. Ben Simmons looks better than I even thought he would, and I thought he was a generational prospect. He's already looked amazing. But what about when the injuries hit?
They still. I can't live off hypotheticals. And the NBA is not about what ifs. You could list off years and years of what ifs and what if this happened, what if that happened. It's not. Right now they're healthy, and they could be healthy come playoff time, and they could be healthy next year when they have enough cap space to sign a big LeBron, a big player to make their team even better and championship contenders. They have a lot of money. Once they drop that Redick contract, once they drop the Amir Johnson contract, they have a lot of money, and they could re-sign Redick too for next year. Then this team looks set for years to come.
I think it's worth noting in their wins this year, they've only beaten half of the teams that they've won were above 500. The average winning percentage of the teams that they beat is 48%.
But this is still a rebuilding team. Even though this team's in the playoffs right now, they're still rebuilding, which is ridiculous.
The question is whether or not they're underachieving. 8 of their 9 losses were to teams above 500. They are not beating the teams that they should be beating if they're supposed to be as good as people think that they are.
Yeah, but you gotta think. Simmons is in his 20th game of his career. Embiid he's played 50 games in his career. That's what they're doing right now is kind of ridiculous. Whether or not most teams like this that are this young, that are this raw, aren't winning games this early. They're still a playoff team right now, which was beyond expectations most people had of them. And I think that's something to take into consideration.
Unfortunately, that is all the time we have to process for today. That's going to be it for WP Sports Desk. Thank you to our analysts, our crew, and studio manager, Clarke. From Studio B in Hobart Hall, I'm Justin McHugh. We'll see you next time.